Hello and welcome along to Clare FM's Sideline View. It's Derek Lynch with you this evening. Coming up on the show, we will be having a major focus on Clare's crucial Munster Senior Hurling Championship clash with Limerick as the Shannonsiders come to Zimmer Biomet Pairc Chiosiog on Sunday afternoon. There's also a big weekend ahead for ladies soccer in Clare, with the cup final taking centre stage on Saturday afternoon, and we will have Greyhound Focus as well. We start this evening with hurling, where Sunday sees Limerick come to Ennis for a sold-out clash in Zimmer Biomet Pairc Chiosiog. Managements have released their teams for the game, with the headline news being that Aaron Gillan has not made the matchday squad or the standby list for Limerick. While for Clare, it's as you were on the starting 15 from the side that started against Waterford, with David McInerney into the subs bench while David Fitzgerald misses out through injury. Ahead of the game, I've been speaking with 2013 All-Ireland winner Dara Conan.
The atmosphere is building, and as you said, it would always be pretty acute there in Clare, where a lot of us would have went to school in Limerick, and we have a few blow-ins coming out from Limerick, so there's a healthy rivalry there. And I suppose particularly the last 8 or 9 years where Limerick and Clare have been two of the best teams in the country. It's been intense, but it's great, and really looking forward to this weekend.
I saw a really interesting piece with Kieran Shannon in the Irish Examiner where he was talking about everyone's blowing up the Cork and Limerick rivalry, but Kieran was kind of making the point, don't forget, this one can be pretty good as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose Cork have kind of nominated themselves as nearly they haven't won the All-Ireland, but they talk as if they have, I suppose. And the reality is that Clare, Limerick and Tip are the last 3 All-Ireland winners. So, the Clare-Limerick rivalry has produced some of the best ever games over the last few years in Munster finals, and some unbelievable individual performances from the likes of Tony Kelly and, same on the Limerick side with maybe Seamus Flanagan going back to that Munster final and things like that. So, it's produced brilliant games over the years, and it's probably been the number one rivalry over the last 10 years in hurling.
We spoke in the lead up to the Waterford game. Did it pan out the way you were expecting?
Yeah, it did in the end, I suppose. Yeah, it was great to get. It's so important to get that win, that first win in this Munster Championship. It opens up the year for you, really, and it doesn't take the pressure off, but when you lose, it really puts the pressure on. So. Really important to get that win in the first round for Clare, and I thought the performance was really good at times. There was that bit of rustiness from maybe playing a lesser opposition in 1B than we could have been playing in 1A, but you'd be hoping that that each game now will bring on this Clare team, and I think Clare will have a lot of learnings from that game.
I suppose a lot of the analysis afterwards was that, okay, we conceded quite a bit, but we scored plenty. Is it sustainable to keep having to score plenty because you're conceding a little bit too much?
Yeah, well, the forwards were electric, and they'll be very, very happy with that aspect of the game. I thought we were dangerous all the time, took some really good scores. The guys who came in from the bench really added a scoring threat as well. So the forwards played really, really well. It's just a bit about tightening things up at the back. Now, as someone pointed out to me, there was just three of the 6 backs who finished were forwards as well. If you count O'Farrell and Malone and Kilroy who came on, so there's a lot of forwards in the county at the moment, and it's probably the big thing that Clare will have been putting a focus on the last 2 weeks. I'd assume now will be to tighten things up a little bit at the back and maybe offer that bit more cover to our full back line, who were quite exposed at times against Waterford.
The loss of Gillan and Cian Lynch with it, I suppose, how big is that, do you think, for Limerick?
Well, Gillan is crucial to the way they play. He's the best at what he does as that outlet in the full forward line, and it allows Limerick to work back the field in numbers and know that they have that ball winner in Gillan up front. So he's a huge loss from that aspect, as well as his score taking, obviously. But they do have good lads to come in, unfortunately, and Shane O'Brien has emerged as a real ball winner himself in the full forward line over the last 2 years, 3 years. So they will have good lads to come in, but there's no doubt. But Gillan particularly is very important to the success that Limerick have had over the last few years.
Is there legitimate questions maybe to be asked now about the depth of the Limerick panel, given that they're going to have to replace 2 starters? I know they did it the last day with David Reedy coming in, but like replacing Gillan, replacing Cian Lynch, how much does that affect then this famed bomb squad that we heard so much about over the last maybe 8 or 9 years?
Yeah, well, I think from a starting 15 point of view, who's going to come in? Like O'Donovan is probably going to come in for Lynch, and he's a multiple All-Star himself. where and Tom Morrissey hasn't broken into the starting 15, so maybe he comes in replacement of Aaron. So he also unfortunately has multiple All-Stars as well. So there's definitely still that squad depth for that first 15, and maybe now, with those two starters gone, that the subs coming in won't be as strong. Perhaps like they probably wouldn't have been happy with what they got out of their subs against Cork last weekend. And playing one week after another, there's not a huge break. There may be an element of fatigue, and you'll be hoping that Clare maybe can finish stronger of the two teams come this weekend.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, is that going to be the key thing, the last 15, and the likes of Ian and Diarmuid and these lads, if you can spring them to give that real burn-off energy, could it just be a little bit too much for Limerick to handle?
Well, look, that's the hope anyway there for sure. And I think I think Clare will be very happy with what they got off the bench. Ian, Galvin, and Diarmuid, my two club mates, performed really well. And Shane Meehan was probably our best performer in the league. There was probably a bit of surprise that he wasn't starting, but he still, mentally was very good to come in ready and make a big impact when he did come in, despite this disappointment of not getting the starting 15. So definitely, there will be a huge role for those lads again this weekend. And hopefully if they can give us something similar to what they did against Waterford, it would put Clare in a really strong position.
I know we've talked about finishing strong, but I mean, if we look at the way Limerick exploded out of the blocks in that first 10-12 minutes down in Pairc Chiosiog, I'm sure that's something the lads will be braced for. Maybe they feel they have to get a fast start, because if it comes down the stretch, then that cushion kind of needs to be there from their perspective.
Yeah, they will, and I saw a lot of Clare fans will have seen them in the league final after going in after the Clare Dublin match, and again they started really quickly in that game and totally dominated Cork in the first half. Maybe despite a bit of a fluke goal. So that's obviously a pattern with this Limerick team. They're really athletic and come out of the traps quick. I think the key from a Clare point of view will be to set up, defensively, in the sense that they're not leaving a lot of space in front of the Limerick full forward line this weekend, and try and keep that gap between your full back line, your half back line, and keep your midfielders back the field to start, so that you're starting with a real tight defensive line. And then as the game opens up, you'll get your opportunity to maybe bomb forward with the likes of Diarmuid Ryan and things like that. But definitely Clare need to be very defensively minded to start this game, to make sure that they don't let Limerick run up a lead like that.
Are we thinking the starting 15 will be something along the lines of what we saw against Waterford?
Yeah, well, it's hard to see. A lot of lads played well. There was no, really poor performances or anything like that. So no one will have played themselves out of the team. But then you do hear of lads coming back, and Dave McInerney, came through a league game with his club at the weekend. He'd be a huge addition to bring back into that back line. And hopefully we'll see David this weekend, because he's been so good for Clare for so long now, and he'd be a massive addition.
What do you make of that decision to let lads go and get game time with their clubs this past weekend? I mean, the week in between championship games, it was almost unheard of, really.
Yeah, I think it's great, actually, to be honest, Derek, for a number of reasons. Like, even the lads who aren't getting games with Clare, it can be tough when you're going in and you're maybe number 26 to 36 on the panel, and you're down the bottom end of the pecking order, and you haven't been playing club games. So to go back into an environment then when you're one of the main men and in your club team, and to take that on could be a huge boost and keep lads engaged and confident. As well then for the likes of David, who hasn't hurled in the league very much for Clare, and missed obviously the first round of the championship, getting that match fitness there's no substitute for it, and it can't really be replicated in training no matter how hard you try. So getting that match experience and that match fitness back up is crucial, and I think it was, management should be commended for that, actually, for allowing the lads back out.
And does it give you a mental freshness as well, that you're back into your own club environment, and it's just a small little mini break from what is a very, very intense inter-county setting?
Definitely, and these lads are all leaders in their club team, and to go back and maybe you're getting a bit down yourself that you're not getting as much game time as you'd like with Clare, but to go back into an environment there where, you're feeling really confident about yourself and you're the leader on the team can really have a massive boost for lads.
Yeah, really looking forward to it, I have to say. And as you mentioned, certainly well done to the lads for giving the boys the club runs last weekend. If you want to whet the appetite for Sunday's game, Ballyea Camogie Club are hosting an Up for the Match special on Saturday. That's tomorrow evening at the local inn in Drumquin, where Derek, along with Paul Flanagan, Niall Moran and former referee John Keenan are on the expert panel. There's also a raffle on the evening for 2 of those golden tickets for Sunday's game, but you have to be there on the night to have a chance of winning them. So check out the Ballyea social media pages or call to any of the local businesses to pick up your tickets for that event. More to come here on Sideline View, where we continue to look ahead to the game. And Clare GAA Chairman Kieran Keating will be in studio to draw the winner of 2 golden tickets for Sunday's game from the Banner Bonanza. We'll tell you all about that just after these. Now here on Sideline View, we are continuing our look ahead to Sunday's game. We'll also reflect on what was another dramatic night in the Munster Under-20 Hurling Championship, and indeed what could be a dramatic night in the Munster Minor Hurling Championship. So lots to get through. Tommy Guilfoyle with us to do just that. But Tommy, we've on this Friday afternoon, we've gotten the team news. All the secrets are out now. Standby lists, the whole lot. What has jumped out from you, I suppose, on both 26s?
I suppose, Derek, not too many surprises. It would have been probably along the expected lines from a Clare point of view. Again, it's great, that we have the players like O'Donnell, Kelly and those guys back. So, I think they will reap the benefit of a game behind them. From a Limerick point of view, we knew that, Gillane was potentially out, but now we can confirm that he is. And we also knew that Cian Lynch was going to miss the game, and probably we could nearly pick the Limerick replacements. I'd say so. No real surprises. But the anticipation around Shannon here, has been fever pitch there for the last couple of days. Lot of expectations, about Clare getting a victory based on the mitigating circumstances involving Limerick, but come 2 o'clock on Sunday, when the ball is thrown in, it'll be 15 against 15. It'll be hell for leather and last man standing. It
certainly will. And one of the men that we hope stays standing throughout, unless at all he gets a nice comfortable seat in the commentary box, is Sil O'Connor. He's with us as well to look ahead to the game. Sil, I suppose one thing that has jumped out, and it's maybe a throwback to the 2024 game between these two, Gearóid Hegarty named in the inside line for Limerick. Is that an attempt at a curveball, do you think?
It probably is, I suppose, when you sit down and look at it. Sometimes you have to judge a game the way the opposition would look at you. And I think probably from that point of view, John Kiley and the management team could look at that and say, look at the full back line, the last day, they're under pressure and all that kind of a thing. But I don't take that much notice to that kind of a thing anymore, because I'll tell you why. Because if Gearóid Hegarty was, going to line out in the full forward line for Limerick, right, as a surprise. Well, it's much of a surprise if you put it up in black and white. Why wouldn't they just name him at wing forward and then put him in inside, where nobody would be expecting it? But I think to send out the notification that he'd be there, I wouldn't lose much sleep over that now, to be quite honest.
And defensively, Tommy, we know Brian Lohan's mantra is go mark your man and beat him, and that's it. So I don't see a Clare back six rotating around to suit matchups. It'll just be whoever comes in near you, deal with him.
Yeah, I would be slightly worried if Hegarty was in the inside line, because if you look at the 6 players picked in the forward line, Tom Morrissey, Colin O'Neill, Aidan O'Connor are all primarily half forwards. As is Hegarty, but Hegarty has drifted in there at different stages. And the way I'm looking at it is, from a Conor Cleary point of view, if Hegarty lines up in there, is it Shane O'Brien or is it Gearóid Hegarty? And then I think maybe we have a physical mismatch then with Hegarty or O'Brien on Rory Hayes or Adam Hogan. Peter Casey usually plays in that withdrawal role. So, you've 2 big, strong target men up front there that I think that Limerick will probably go after that. How Clare react will be another thing. Again, the easy thing is cut the supply and deny Clare possession. But I would be slightly worried if Hegarty takes takes up a position in there. I'm picturing a ball going out with 20 yards from the sideline, he picking it up and coming in. And, this black card penalty issue, Hegarty is a marauding type of a player. So just we'll have to wait and see. But that potential is there, and I would be slightly concerned about it.
And Sil, from a Clare point of view, then it's as you were in terms of the team that actually started against Waterford, which means Shane O'Donnell takes his place inside. So again, no real major surprises there. And I would imagine no major surprises maybe up to throw in. I think everybody will play where they're put.
I think they will. I think you're expected, which it was a winning team the last time out. And, even at the start of this conversation, we were talking about the opposition. I think from a Clare point of view, they have it's exactly the team we expected, to be quite honest with you. They won the last time out. It was a very good performance, 1 or 2 question marks here and there, but they were always going to be there. And so, as I said, it's as is. I don't see any major change in that from the very start. There's 1 or 2 changes on the 26 from 16 down. Again, players coming back into form, hopefully players coming back in injury-free. And, it's as expected. I don't expect any major changes on that. Certainly not at the start of the game.
Yeah, and still, like that first 10 minutes, we're expecting this to be hot and heavy, I presume. I think, is it a case, have Limerick had to do this in the last couple of games, try to maybe the first 20 almost microwave their opponents and then hope that they've enough of a cushion coming down the stretch then when the squeeze might come on a bit?
I think they're exceptionally good at it, to be quite honest with you. I think they are. And how do you do that? How do you create that confusion in the opposition, at the start of a game? You do that, of course, by taking players all over the place. That's what you do. You take the opposition 6 backs all over the place, and it takes a while to settle in. Then, built on top of that, you see, you have probably an anchor man in the middle of the field, which was Keane Lynch last Sunday. You look at the opening moments of the game below in Pairc Chiosiog. I think it was 10 points to 2 at one particular stage below in Pairc Chiosiog. Now, if Limerick had got a goal at that stage, it just became a different obstacle altogether. But then Cork settled down. Small little things. If you look at the first Shane Barrett goal, that came out of a very, very simple mistake from Limerick that they don't normally make. I mean, in fairness to Will O'Donoghue, all day long with his eyes closed, he would have caught that ball. So what does that do? That eliminates mistakes when you're playing at that level. That's what Limerick paid the price for. We all know what happened 10 minutes into the second half, which changed the whole game. From a Clare point of view, the first thing I would be ready for on Sunday will be the amount of movement throughout the field by Limerick in that opening 10-15 minutes. Now, it looks confusing from everybody's point of view. Leaning back to the corner forward is out in the wing, such and such a thing. That's what it looks like. But it's anything but from a Limerick point of view, because they know exactly where they're going in that opening 10-15 minutes.
And Tommy, the final 10-15 minutes, I think if we look through both replacements, from 16 to 26 on this, is that where Clare might hold a little edge here? Like, the bench, not only is it tested, we know it's impactful. From a Limerick point of view, maybe losing the 2 lads and having to replace them on the starting 15, yes, they have the depth to do that, but have they the same depth to go beyond it?
Yeah, no, I just go back there to the start. I agree. I think Limerick probably, will target a start. But I would see, and again, probably the difference between winning and losing will be the strength and the impact of the bench. When you look at, the Clare, and we're looking at through saffron and blue eyes here. Connerly and David McInerney, John Conlon, Jack O'Neill, David Stritch, Ian Galvin, and Shane Meehan. Now, that has been as strong as bench as Clare have had over the last decade, or as long as I can remember. So, yes, you would expect that, if Clare are in a game and it's tight, that the impact of the bench from Clare would be greater than Limerick's. And I believe that, coming down the stretch, that will be the difference, I think, which will give Clare the advantage.
And we do, of course, hope that Shannon might give us a little bit of an advantage as well, because for those that haven't heard it, from just after 12:30 on Sunday, the Blackbird will be ringing out around Pairc Chiosiog, and we hope it'll set the tone for what will be a savage atmosphere, no doubt about it. Lads, we have to move on because there's lots of other hurling to talk about, and you're only just back up the road from Cork, and you'll be facing back down again next Wednesday, maybe albeit a little bit wiser from a Clare perspective in terms of their performance. Still, the performance Wednesday night, the goals, I suppose, massive scores in it, but is there a feeling that Clare might have learned a little bit more perhaps than what Cork did?
Well, I suppose, look at from a Cork point of view, they're going back down again. Clare going back down, visitors again. We beat them the last time. What do we have to do to beat them this time? In other words, who's going to take the most from that game last Wednesday night? I actually think that Clare will take the most from it, because if you look at the goals that we conceded and maybe the opportunities we got as well presented to us, there were very thin lines. 6 goals and 40 points scored the last night below and 60 minutes below in Pairc Chiosiog in a fantastic game that Clare played a huge part in. Now we have a situation where I think, which is a funny thing to say, but I actually think there's no question about it, but Clare are getting better and better in every game they play in this Under-20 Championship. We saw them the first day out, we saw them the last day out. And as I said, their approach, the whole performance is way up, scaled way up from the first night out. Now what we have is, we have players coming back from injury. And we have players coming back into the panel. And we have players, and I just pick out two, the likes of the Shawnee Arthur and Mark Cleary. They've come on in the last 2 games. And they've looked very, very busy outside of Ronan Keane, outside of James Hegarty. But they've looked very busy up front. So now, more and more players, different appetite, different pace. I actually think we're in with a cracking chance. If we eliminate the little mistakes that we made, they were costly, but they were small mistakes. They're not the biggest things in the world to rectify once the mentality is right. I actually think we have an excellent chance next Wednesday night.
And Tommy, there seems to be a massive momentum swinger when Paul Rogers' shot was saved, and a couple of seconds later Walsh has the ball in the net at the other end of the field. Was that the defining kind of turn, do you think?
I think it was, because it was a 6-point swing, and had Clare had got that goal. And look, let's give credit to both. I think Rogers won the ball, he shot it, and credit to the keeper. But the result, down at the other end was costly. And I think I just reiterate what Sil says. I think he was talking to Terence Fahey after the game. Clare played really, really well in that game. And again, we spoke about getting a performance. The spaces of Pairc Chiosiog, suited some of our players. The Michael Collins and revelled in that space. Ronan Kilroy, there. I just think from a Clare point of view, they'll sit back and look and say, look, we're every bit as good as them. If we eliminate or cut down on the mistakes, probably get a small bit more upper midfield. To ensure a supply in. Now, the big question will be, will Barry Walsh play? Because, on the Wednesday night, and then they're playing again on Saturday. So that is a big decision for, now who makes the decisions? I'm not sure, is it Ben O'Connor or Furlong, the under-20 manager? But it's going to be a big call. The fact that the under-20 is a knockout game may swing it that Walsh will be available, but with the way Cork have injuries and all that, and they've pulled him before from the Waterford game, it's going to be a big call. But look at Clare. Cork will have 15. Clare will have to just face up to what Cork put out. But I do believe, and again, there was a couple of, I thought John Murphy was very influential, good ball winner up front, and I think that Colm Guard at centre back probably was allowed a bit too much time and space at times. And I think they're all things that when the Clare management and players will look at the video and say, there was more positives than there was negatives. We're every bit as good. We're going down again. It's nothing new. It's a knockout game. And I think I agree, as Sil says, it's very hard to beat the same team twice, never mind in the space of 7 days. But we do go down with a great chance.
Yeah, if Walsh wasn't available, to be a huge blow, because he looked head and shoulders the classiest player the Cork had on display anyway, I thought. And my God, that point he scored from just outside his own 45-metre line was an incredible moment. We don't see too many of those. But still, you mentioned about the team as a whole improving across the year, and I think that was very, very evident in the performance of Michael Collins. Just to pick one lad out, I really thought it was his best performance in a long, long time, almost a coming-of-age one.
This is the point I'm making.
Yeah.
Well, there's setting into it. Can I just make one comment? Because Tommy made it as well. Was about we said the midfield, the Clare midfield in a big, big place like Pairc Chiosiog. They were kind of out of the game, and the reason they were out of the game. You see, if you look at the reason they were out of the game, it isn't that they didn't get into it, but to get into the game, you have to get onto the ball. And when Colm Garda was at centre half back in that first half, right, when Clare were playing with the Breeze, he was back as a sweeper. So every ball he got went way in over the heads, and that created a problem. Cork formed the same situation. While they hadn't the sweeper in the second half, they had the same method of clearing the ball. Barry Walsh got a long range free that you're talking about, but a lot of the long ball came down. Then he went into the full forward line. But to go back then about your question of Michael Collins, he was fantastic the last night, and he was roamed across the pitch. He was just so much involved in the game. And again, I go back and I'll say it, more and more and more players, like Daniel Costello was superb in Tullis, Graham Ball, the amount of work they did. They're slowly but surely, as a unit, every now and then, different players coming along, playing fantastic. If they could just gel it together for a semi-final next Wednesday night, as I said on the last time I was talking, I think we have a fantastic chance here. Everybody getting better and better and enjoying their game more. And if you want to enjoy it, next Wednesday night is the time to do it.
Yeah,
Derek,
go on.
I just think on the Clare performance, I think, Tomas O'Connor has added a new dimension, to the team where, he has that ability. And look he had the full back, quaking in his boots there anytime the ball went in. But, I still alluded to that. Cork were alive to that and dropped someone back in front of him. But he has that ability, to win his own ball and bring other players into the game. As has Paul Rogers, who's probably playing, a bit ahead of his young years. But for me, in the last 5 minutes, we created about 4 or 5 goal chances.
Yeah.
So, that would suggest to me that, those opportunities are there. It's all about taking them. Now, credit, Cork defended valiantly. Some got hit off players, some were blocked, some were, that were missing. But I think Clare will realise, that there's opportunities. If we get the ball in deep enough to that inside line, that there are opportunities. And look, it's an easy game when we are sitting above on row 3 or whatever it is. Cut out the mistakes at one end and capitalise on the chances at the other end. Yeah,
I thought Thomas O'Connor showed great bravery for both his goals because he's got that kind of a style. He almost carries the ball into contact before he strikes it, and you're going to get met with a goalkeeper when you're doing that. And I thought he showed great bravery to get his 2 shots away and lovely composed finishes as well, just to kind of knock it past the keeper. So no, and look, we all know he didn't steal it anyway, that's for sure and certain. Lads, on the Clare Cork thing, of course, tonight they're in the minors down in Páirc Uí Rinn. Massive game as well, this Munster Minor Championship. 4 of the 5 come through, and even a defeat tonight wouldn't be the end of the world for Clare to get into the All-Ireland series, but there's still an outside chance, incredibly still, of reaching a Munster final if Clare were to beat Cork and other results went their way next week in that final round of games. So it's amazing how things can turn when you're talking about such tight margins.
It's amazing the amount of times a person will be talking, and I'm including myself in this, where you're constantly nearly saying the same thing. The Clare Minors, right? There's no question about it. They were very disappointing themselves, in the opening games as well. And the last night they were fantastic. The last night, they just seemed to have a different momentum to them the last night, and it gave them some hope as regards going forward. Huge game tonight, but then again, the reward is big as well. And I think, as you said, they might get into the All-Ireland series. But tonight is a great tester for them. Below in Páirc Uí Rinn, not the biggest pitch in Ireland, but it's a very competitive game is going to be. But if they can step up another level from the last night, it would be absolutely fantastic for them. And as I said, a group of players that are gelling together, getting better as they go along, and this is another step hopefully in the right direction.
And on that point, Tommy, it was just to still finish it up there, it was perfectly put, because I was just going to say the same thing. Maybe there's a lot of parallels between our minors and 20s in, needing the couple of games to gel together. The 20s, that little bit more experienced. Here we have a good shot of minors just coming out of those development competitions. This is their first competitive championship. It's the first big spotlight maybe put on them, with media and streaming and all the rest of it. So, again, it's a growing in process, isn't it?
Yeah, sometimes I think, Derek, we can be critical of the GA in how they run competitions and make certain decisions. But one of the best decisions that they have made is to make the provincial championships round robin. Because, as you said, for the reasons given, right, you do all the training in the world. Back in my day, you trained for one game. If you won, you advanced. If you lost, the whole year was gone. Now you have an opportunity to learn from your mistakes, look for incremental improvements. And I think, the measure of the team and the management was, they were gutted. Not only the fact that they lost, but in the manner in which they played against Limerick in Chiosiog Park, but it's how they reacted. They came out in 6 Mile Bridge last week, hit the ground running. I think, took Waterford completely off their feet. Made a couple of changes. Murphy coming into the goals was a big asset with puck outs and that. But I think the launch pad for Clare was our half-back line, with Colm Daly, Marshall and the centre-back, the movement of Sean Kennellan to wing-back, and on the other side. But for me, the half-forward line, really, really worked hard, took their opportunities when they came. Cian Mullins from the Bridge, right, may not have got the plaudits, that he got 7 or 8 points on the scoreboard, but God, did he do Trojan work up and down the sideline in the field that he knows well. I thought Madden at centre forward, was a ball winner, but again, good decision maker. And when all those things happen, you have a chance. So again, Clare go down, I think, not under pressure to win, but to perform to their own expectations. And, if you do that, you're in with a chance. And if you don't, well, you can walk off the field and take the learnings from it. But, as you said, the prize is great, to continue this development and continue this campaign, to go further, because the further teams go, the better we get, and the more experience we get, the better it will stand to them down the line. So, big game. But it's about performance, maxing out their ability, and let the result look after itself. Yeah,
first of 3 massive games across the next 5 or 6 days or thereabouts for Clare hurling, and we look forward to them all. Lads, for now, go and get the break, get the sun cream out hopefully for Sunday. I think it's a bit overcast, but might still get a bit of UV light coming through. And what a day in store, 22 or so thousand people in Pairc Chiosiog. It'll be magic. Lads, thanks for that.
All right, Eric.
Now, as we continue our look ahead to Sunday's massive game, the word hen's teeth and golden tickets have been thrown around this week, and my God, they are. Those last couple of tickets going on sale yesterday didn't last too long. However, that could be about to change for somebody out there, because I'm delighted to have the chair of Clare GA, Kieran Keating, with us in studio. And as I'm sure people have spotted, Kieran, a new Clare GA app has launched. All the news and fixtures and details and everything you want is on there. It can be downloaded on whatever device you have, and a great competition as well to kick things off. I'll throw everything over to you to explain the banner bonanza, explain the app, explain it all.
Thanks, Derek. Yeah. So we launched a new app there 2 weeks ago, just for the Watford game, and a couple of thousand people had that downloaded already, and that's flying out the door every day, free to download on iOS or on your Android device. And then, as part of that, we launched a new monthly draw, the Banner Bonanza draw, which will be running, for the year ahead and years ahead. And we did a special promotion, I suppose, just for people who signed up by midnight last night for that draw, that they were in a bonus draw for 2 tickets for the match on Sunday. So, we've 514 entrants into that, and we have them here in a hat ready to pull out with names. So I'm joined here by Peter Casey, one of our GDAs, and Peter is going to do the duties there and dig deep into the hat and pick out one of the names. So without further ado, we'll see who the winner of the 2 tickets is.
Perfect. Peter, off you go.
Peter.
Now, let's see who we have.
So Seamus Byrne is the name on it. number 380, St. Joseph's Milton Mulvey, the club that he's put down. So Seamus Byrne will be in touch with you. Seamus, we have your contact details to deliver those 2 tickets before Sunday.
Mighty stuff. In to support Conor in particular, I suppose, on that one.
Yeah.
Just before we wrap it up, Kieran, just again, you said iOS and Apple devices and Androids and all the rest of it are there. And the Banner Bonanza, does that stay open?
It does indeed. Yeah, it's still open now. So the first draw is at the end of this month, the end of May. So it's open for entries now up until the 31st of May, and then each month after that. So it's a monthly draw. The first draw start at the 2nd of June is for a 10,000 first prize. And then each month it'll be at least a 5,000 prize. We're starting off at 5,000 and runner prizes of 1,000 and 500. All Ireland tickets next month, concert tickets in August, Ryder Cup tickets in due course when we get our hands on. We have a few of those booked, so we'll be able to put those on in due course as well, and various other prizes like that. But in the main, the big prize will be $5,000 cash every month. And then in December or just after Christmas, or Christmas draw will be for a new car, a 30,000 car. So further details of that in due course. But for now, it's just for people to get on the app, find the Banner Bonanza draw on that. It's easy enough to sign up. You can sign up, pay £100 for the 12 months, or pay £9 a month, or just pay a tenner if you only want to enter this particular month. But we're hoping people will do as the 514 people in the hat here have done and sign up for the year. So
fantastic stuff.
Thanks to all them.
Yeah, and the Banner Hub is there, has all your details, team news, games, fixtures, everything. Download it. Looks really snazzy, I have to say, so well done to everybody involved in that. Before we let you go, you have a massive couple of days ahead. It's easy for us to sit here and talk about 21,000 people in Pairc Chiosiog. You're going to be inside in the heart of the control centre, but I suppose where else would you be?
Yes, exactly. I mean, look, the most of the work is done now. It's just the logistics of the day, which, in fairness, the Munster GA, they handle a lot of that in terms of the turnstiles, the stewarding, the security, and all that on the day. The preparation of the grounds, and that is our work, all right. So David Hoy's been very busy, obviously over the weeks and months in the past, and the place is looking very well over there now. Yeah, it's a big day. Obviously, it's a big fixture. You know, we've had this in the calendar for many months back, and at the same time, there's lots else going on. The under-20s, we're down with your lads in Cork on Wednesday night. We're down to the minors are in Cork tonight. There's an event on in Ennis for those that aren't going to Cork. Tony Griffin is speaking in the Woodstock at 8 o'clock. So he's speaking and coaching the teenage athlete and that, and Tony's always very good to listen to. It's free entry. Anyone that would like to come along and just hear Tony speak, I'd recommend they do it 8 p.m. in the Woodstock, and thanks to our Health and Wellbeing Committee for organising that.
Mighty stuff. And if I can just give another plug to the Ballyea event that's on in the local in Drumquin tomorrow night. 2 more tickets for the game will be available there, but the caveat is you have to be there yourself on the night to collect them if you want them. They're getting fairly scarce by now. Kieran, thanks for that. We'll see you on Sunday. And we are back shortly here on Sideline View. The Ladies' Cup final will take centre stage this weekend in Clare. A fantastic final in store on Saturday afternoon at Frank Healy Park, when Moher Celtic will take on Tulla United. Derek Dormer is with us to look ahead to that one. Derek, I suppose we've seen a real quality contest in ladies soccer in Clare over the last couple of seasons, and this cup final should be living up to that.
Yeah, definitely, Derek. I mean, while the league itself and the CDSL deserve credit for the formation of this women's league, I think it's in year 6 now. And there was 6 teams entered. Now, it did turn into a 2-tier league, but that's the same in the men's. I mean, we do know there's a top 4 in the Premier Division in the men's. Well, there was a top 3 in the women's league, and that would be Moher, Tulla and league winners Hermitage. They were just a cut above the rest, but that doesn't take away from the quality of those 3 teams especially. And when they faced each other, the games were of the highest order, and I'd expect nothing else in the cup final. Both Tulla and Moher played the game the way it should be played. They played at pace, and it's highly entertaining. I've been at several games this season, and you won't lack for entertainment anyway, Derek.
Give us an idea of their runs to this point.
Well, Tulla, I suppose, had the trickier semi-final in that they faced off against league winners Hermitage. Hermitage on the night now would have been down a couple of bodies. Emma O'Donoghue and Emma Ickaby, especially the two Emmas, they were the two centre halves all year. They were rock solid in defence. And Tulla got through in extra time with I won't say a lucky penalty, because it was a penalty. It was just unfortunate on Hermitage. The player actually slipped in the box, and as she fell, her hand fell on the ball. You know, I mean, the referee had no option but to give a penalty, but it was in no way deliberate or anything. And that was the difference on the night. I thought it would actually go to a shootout. Such was the competitive nature of the contest. The other semi-final, then Moher turned on a bit of a clinic, to be honest. The Dons did really well, and you know, did the best that they could. But Moher moved that ball and moved it very, very well, Derek. They were a really, really strong midfield, and they play the game the way it's meant to be played. It's two touch, it's get the ball out wide, it's wingers attacking the end line, it's pulling back crosses. Moher are a really, really exciting team to watch.
And I suppose Frankeely Park will lend itself into a game that, if you are able to play, what better spot?
Yeah, Frankeely Park is a fabulous venue, as we know, and look, there'll be a huge crowd. Moher are in their second year. They won the cup last year, and they brought in a huge crowd to the final, and I'm sure it'll be the same. And Tulla always travel in numbers. They have a massive underage women's section in Tulla. I think they have 520 odd members when last I spoke with Mike Maloney now and Kevin Pearl, but 30% of their club members are female, and they provide teams in every age group up to under 16 level in school girls and school boys. So Tulla are a fantastic club, as we know, fabulous facilities, and they've enjoyed huge success. They won the double a couple of years ago. They were league winners last year, Shield winners, and they're itching to get their hands in that cup. But it won't be easy, because there's a Georgian playing with Moher, Derek Lynch, and I'm telling you now, if we could get her an Irish passport, she could be going to the World Cup. She's that good. Natia Nakvitura is her name, if I pronounced it right. A champagne player now. I mean, one touch and it's just pinged around the park. Outstanding. And both teams play the game at the way it should be played. Both teams attack. They play at pace, 1-2 touch football, and no nonsense tackling, no nonsense defending either. Like, you know, it's a genderless game. That's what it is. They will be going full-blooded at it, and it'll be huge entertainment. There'll be great physicality, great intensity, and it's a great advertisement for women's soccer and for young girls, Derek, to look up and see, oh, look at these girls or these women are playing in the county grounds. And, you know, it's all about developing sport and, getting increased numbers in participation, especially for girls and women to have an outlet, an avenue to participate in sport. We all know the benefits of, be it physical and mental health and whatever else. It's all important, and credit to both clubs, Derek, and I reckon it'll be a cracking final.
Finally, who carries the favourites tag into it?
Probably Tulla on most people's lips, but for me, Moher would be the favourites, because I think that when they click, they're pretty much unstoppable in the way they play the game. And as I said, they have a Georgian in the middle of the field, and Shannon Cagney and Blonid Reynolds up front. They certainly know how to find the back of the net. Tulla have Emma Deegan, she played League of Ireland. Elna Stafford, former League of Ireland player. They have Cueva Grace in defence. Look, there's a wealth of talent between both teams. I'd give the edge just to Moher because of Nakvitura. I hope I pronounced that right. Because of her in the middle of the park, she'll probably win player of the match, and Moher to win 2-1. How does that sound?
Sounds very precise. Thank you very much.
You're more than welcome.
Now we're staying with local soccer, and as we've been discussing, the Clare Ladies Cup final on Saturday in Frankeely Park is one of the standout fixtures, but there are others as well in the men's side of things. Jim Madden with us to look ahead to those. And speaking of the Cup, Jim, I guess this final quarter-final taking place on Saturday, 6 o'clock in Innistymen CBS, Sporting Innistymen versus Shannontown B, a date with Avenue awaiting the winners here. But as we mentioned before, I think getting to the last four for either of these two teams would be massive, wouldn't it?
It would indeed. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I think Sporting should shade this. I think home advantage will tell, and they're a bit, I think, physically stronger as well than Shannontown B. There won't be much in the game, but I would think that if Sporting should advance to the semi-final, and there's no doubt that the people at Sporting, they've put a lot of work in over the years. They would deserve to be in a semi-final.
Yep, so a good game in store there in North Clare if you're looking for a game in the second division as well in Rosslevin. It's Avenue B against the Donsby at 5:30. We'll skip to Sunday, Jim, because a big game in the Premier Division here. This one perhaps could be even a decisive one in terms of the title run-in. You've Shannon Road hosting Bridge United and Avenue United at 10:30.
Yes, indeed. There should be a very good crowd there. This is a game where a win is vital really now for both sides because Newmarket have opened up a bit of a gap at the top of the table. I think that the Bridge could just about shade it. I felt that Avenue last Saturday, while they did beat Tulla in the Cup quarter final, that they just lacked as if they maybe lacked something. I don't know what it was. Whereas I think the Bridge have a lot of pace in their side and there's a lot of work gone in the Bridge, and I think that to be at home in a cup semi-final or the league, is very, very important, and it will be a big crowd there. And I think the Bridge can just about shade it and keep the pressure on at the top of the table.
Yeah, because I think any more drop points from Bridge, I think Avenue are now kind of officially out of the title race, and I think if the Bridge drop any more points, that's them gone as well. So you could be conceivably looking at Newmarket as champions-elect if Avenue were to overcome the Bridge in this one.
You could indeed. I mean, and if it was a share of the points, it would really make the Bridge or Newmarket jump up and down because they'd feel they have taken one another out of the equation. So, a win for either is vital and maybe more so for the Bridge.
Take us through the rest of the fixtures then.
And then on Shannon Town, then they're at home to Enniston's. Town should be able to follow up their big win over Kilrush in midweek with another win here because the Dons are not as strong as I expected they would have been in the Premier League. In the first division then, Connolly Celtic are at home to Mount Shannon. The visitors beat Olympic by 4-3 in midweek. A great game, and I think Mount Shannon are back in the groove, and I think they'll win this despite the long trip to Connolly. In the second division then, Newmarket C are at home to Cool FC. I think Cool will win this with a bit to spare. Hermitage then, who are in the second division, they're second in the table I should say they're at home to Corrafin. I think that if Hermitage feel that they're good enough to be in the first division and get promoted automatically, they have to be winning these kind of games. So I'd give them a vote to win that. In the third division then, Shannon Hibbs B played Tulla B. There's little to choose between the two of these, but maybe Shannon Hibbs should win that. And then Shannon Town C are at home to Avenue C. Avenue look to be a lot stronger than Shannon Town, and I think that Avenue will continue their good run and pick up the 3 points there. And then on Monday, we have Tulla versus Kilrush, and then we have Wednesday, of course, another game with Bridge United. They're playing Fair Green, and on Monday as well, there's a local derby here in Shannon when Shannon Hibbs play Shannon Olympic.
Very good. So busy couple of days ahead, and as we say that the ladies final, I know we did a piece there just prior there, Jim, with Derek, but just a quick word on it before we finish up. It is the Premier Showpiece event in ladies soccer in the county, which has really grown in, I suppose, in numbers, quality and profile the last couple of years, and another big one ahead here.
Yes, indeed. It's a game, I think, that I would hope that there would be a right good crowd there. I would imagine Tulla will come out in force, and so will Moher. It's a 4 p.m. kickoff, which is handy enough time. So it's at the county ground. Both of these clubs have put a lot of effort into the women's game. They deserve to be in the final, and hopefully we'll have a right good final. And I have this feeling that Moher might be just that little bit stronger.
Yeah, hopefully, as you say, a good crowd out to support them. Indeed, a 4 o'clock kickoff in Frank Keeley Park. Jim, thanks for that.
Thanks, Derek. Talk to you next week.
Time now for Greyhound Focus and Alan Troy.
Clare FM's Greyhound News with Galway Greyhound Stadium. The ultimate night out for hens and stags. Enjoy racing and a choice of dinner or group admission packages.
Good evening and welcome to this week's Greyhound Focus. Clare Greyhounds dominated the weekend action at Galway Greyhound Stadium with wins for owners from Donaghadh, Tulla, Newmarket and Fergus, Kilmahel, Liscannor and Cratloe. Kilmettle native and Donaghadh resident Brendan Brown was in the winner's enclosure with Glasheen Model after this daughter of Dermana Bucco and Glasheen Covid crossed the line in pole position in 1926 in an S6 graded contest. This was her second career success. Molly's Ambition notched her first career success for Tulla-based trainer Donny Duggan with a 29.75 victory. She is a daughter of Good Cody and Droopy's Frida. The Honky Army Syndicate from the Market on Fergus were in full vice as Paradise Honk led from trap to line to claim his first career success in 29.28. A son of McInerney and Paradise Brook, he was bred and is trained by Sean Mead from Milltown Malbay. Confused Kylie claimed his 10th career success for Crattlow's Jerry Manley in a time of 29.29. He's a son of Magical Bale and Lavin Fairy. Effernoak Bush notched his first career win for Frank Casey from the Market on Fergus with a 2-length victory in 29.40. He's a son of Burgess Bucks and Ballymac Helena. Burn Park Class was back to winning ways for Kilmehill's Maria Brown with a 29.48 victory. And this was career number 5 for this homebred daughter of Grangeview 10 and Burn Park Willow. And in a graded A4 contest, the ever-consistent Substance notched career win number 8 for Liscannar's Michael Malone in a career best 29.14. She is a daughter of Slippery Robert and Be Slow Teresa. And from Limerick Greyhound Stadium, on Saturday evening last, there was a first career success for the John Meehan from the Market and Fergus owned Bling Bling Mint. A daughter of Australian sire Koblenz and Antipos Arminta, her winning time was 28.95. The Peter Russell from Shannon, Noah and Jack claimed career win number 1 with a 29.01 performance. A son of Ballymac Cashout and Blueview Carry, he's trained by the aforementioned Donny Duggan. And from Thursday's SIS meeting, the same team were in the winners' enclosure with the ever-consistent Pete Snowa, who recorded his 14th career success in 29.32. He's the son of Burgess Bucks and No Time to Talk. And Donny Duggan had further training success with the Hot Tub Syndicate-owned My Old Sligo Girl, who claimed her second career success in 29.22. She's a daughter of Signet Days and Candanchu. And there was 6th career success for Snuggy Dash, who is owned by Miles Cummins from the Market on Fergus. A son of Jacob Tasha Delic and Miles's girl, his winning time was 29.37. That's all for this week, folks. Slán agus Bannacht.
Clare FM's Greyhound News with Galway Greyhound Stadium. The ultimate night out for hens and stags. Enjoy racing and a choice of dinner or group admission packages.
Alan, thanks for that. Well, we are out of time here again on Sideline View. We hope you have a great bank holiday weekend. Really looking forward to Sunday. The West Wind is up next with Owen O'Neill. Have a great Friday evening.